QuickBooks is committed to helping small businesses succeed, no matter what comes their way. We put together this live Q&A to connect small businesses like yours to experts who can help answer the questions, to help your business navigate today's environment.
My name is Lynda Artesani, and I am the owner of Artesani Bookkeeping here in sunny Southwest Florida. And my business is an accounting firm, and I primarily work with attorneys. And I just recently niched my business, but I've been in business for over 21 years now. Wow. And worked as a generalist for a lot of years. So I've been around for a while. Also the co-founder of a Facebook group called QB Community Live. And I partner that with my partner here, Matthew Fulton. I'm going to let him take it away and tell a little bit about the group and himself.
Hello, and I'm Matthew Fulton. I'm with Parkway Business Solutions out of Ventura, California. We provide bookkeeping and payroll services for small to medium-sized businesses. But truly along our journey, we've discovered that our true specialty is workflow design. Really, it's a matter of trying to help businesses improve their processes by connecting the app portion with the human portion to save them time and money, of course. As Lynda just talked about, together we co-created the Facebook group called QB Community Live, which is a group of accountants, bookkeepers, tax professionals, and small business owners, all focused around the belief that together we all succeed. If you want to see more Q&As like this, make sure you hit the subscribe or follow.
While most businesses are pivoting in the short term, many small businesses are also planning long-term on growing their business. It's not just about revenue growth, it's also about running a business more efficiently so that it frees up your time to make a bigger business impact. Today, we're going to chat a little bit about tips on how to bring efficiencies to your business operations. But before we start, don't forget to submit all your questions in the chat or comment section.
This week, QuickBooks ran a poll on process automation, and we heard you loud and clear that you're most interested in learning how to automate more of your invoicing and payment processes. So let's get started. Our first question is from Allison, 1981. What are the core business processes growing businesses should focus their energy on? Lynda?
I would say definitely your invoicing. Look at your invoicing flow. See if you can see where your revenue is coming from, right? We want to make sure that we can see where our revenue is coming from and how we can check your cash flow, see how your cash flow is doing. So you're going to start to look towards forecasting to the future, but you really want to set some goals. And I think that really AR is probably one of the pivotal ones that, yeah, so that you can, and I see this a lot with the people I work with, they start getting busy and they start to really get their AR going and they kind of let it go and they don't follow it. They don't check in on it. They don't really follow up if people haven't paid them, and it just sits in, it's really hard to cash it, collect on old AR. So those are the areas I would look at. Definitely want to look at revenue, start looking at your cash flow. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it makes a lot of sense. When it comes to automation, it takes time to set these things up. And the true secret about process automation is there's a certain aspect of it, you could call it smoke and mirrors, because it does always still take maintenance behind the scenes. So if you start with your money in aspect first, that's the most intelligent way to go about it, because it's one of the most challenging things for small business owners. When you're in the mix and you're trying to create new sales, it's very easy to get behind on the collections until you realize you need to pay those bills. So there are some great applications, great ways that you can start to simplify the process, make it to where you have less clicks for yourself to have to actually complete the, collecting the funds for all the work that you did, of course.
And on a side note, for those accountants that are actually here listening, it's also a really great place as an accountant to jump in and help your client. And you're like the hero when you find money and get that collection process going so you can get, I don't like to see anything in the 90-day category. I don't know about you. I don't like to see that with my clients. I want to see it, 30 days or less. I want to see that money flowing in. Our next question is from Monique. How does QuickBooks assist with payroll?
Monique, that's a great question. I tell you, we are a big proponent of QuickBooks Online, especially with Payroll connected. Using QuickBooks Online Payroll, it simplifies the the capture of time through the connection with T-sheets. It makes it easier to set up your employees and have automatic direct deposit to employees. And if you're going into anything like job costing, where you're trying to track time against a certain client for billing, it really simplifies the process because you can take all time and allocate it to certain projects or certain customers. It's definitely a big win-win by using their payroll.
Yeah, and it's inside the platform, so that makes it a lot easier to really follow it, and it's baked in, so you're not going to an outside service and then pulling it in. So it's definitely more efficient that way, I think. The next question, that's your turn.
So Tony was asking a good question, which is, what's an example of a business process that people have trouble with and could improve?
I would say I would go back to AR because, and when I talk about AR and invoicing, I'm talking about payments. So a lot of people struggle with how do they enter the payment, or they think it is there. Maybe with their bank feed, they drop it in from the bank feed, forgetting all about the fact that they invoiced, and then the invoice will stay open. They'll download the payment, or maybe they've entered the payment and then also entered the deposit. Now you've got a double income scenario there. So I think that anything around the sales process and anything around that aspect, if you can automate it with Intuit Payments, is a great example of automating that part of the feature set inside the program. For me, it's been a big plus because I'm able to actually help reduce, when you get to working with larger firms, it can reduce someone's job if that part of it's automated, where they email the invoice. Another big plus is emailing the invoice out. They can pay online, so there is no cashing a check. It's very secure. And then the payment gets entered, the deposit gets entered, and it really does. That's just sweet automation, in my opinion. What about you? What do you think?
That's a good point, again, because now you're having it automatically match the payment to the invoice. So it's not taking other people more time to do the matching. And, of course, the ability to automate goes across the entire spectrum of stuff that you can do. One of the biggest things where we've really been taking advantage of it lately has been utilizing like QuickBooks Online Advanced with their different workflow capabilities. So you can send automatic reminders to clients that hopefully bill is coming due, as well as if it's past due. Hopefully we catch them on the first round, so we can try to get that cash flow working more appropriately. But also automation, sometimes automation or improvement isn't 100% automation. You also have the ability, again, happens to be with advanced, that you can import bulk data into the system. So if you're using an external like point of sale system, this is a way that you can pull the necessary data into QuickBooks Online without as much double data entry, of course.
Right, exactly. Tina has a question. Tina H, can I learn more about automating invoicing and using different email messages for different types of invoices?
That is actually a great question. So there are, within QuickBooks Online, you have the ability, you can set up default messages that are, I guess you could say it's a default message in your initial email. But anytime you are going in to send an invoice to be paid online, you can customize the message immediately before you send it out to a person, of course. So there are default ones you can set up as your standard. Then you can also set up where you can manually change things. And then again, through some of the workflows, you can set up some specific workflows. You can list specific customers that you want to receive email reminders about something coming up or that's about to come due. And then you can customize those based on the people that you select as well. So there's quite a bit that you could do.
And you can also set the words for your reminders. So there's a couple places in there you can have different words for your estimate, different words. You can actually select that, and it's in the gear. You go into gear, go into sales, it's right there. And it's a simple process to set it up. I highly recommend it. I'm not a big fan of the default language that's there. So with the exclamation points, I always think that's a great step to really get that warm, fuzzy feeling with your client, for sure.
I think every email should have 3 exclamation points at the end.
What, pay now? Pay me now.
Exactly. Now, so Carrie asked another great question, which it's probably good that you're going to answer first because you know me in data. What kinds of data errors can you get from inefficient systems, and what are the implications?
Inefficient systems. I see this a lot with the law firm clients that I work with. They have redundancy is their biggest one, where have a program over here that does the work for like the AR, accounts receivable, but then they manually go in and maybe type a journal entry. It's like, oh gosh, please no journal entry. And they'll enter that to enter the sales for the day, the month, the week. So they're doing things twice and it's disjointed. So for me, that is probably my biggest area where I see that you have a place where there's an inefficient workflow system. I'm sure you have a million of them since you're the big data guy.
I would say the most common one we hear about all the time, but it just really highlights the point extremely well. Sales commissions. When you're trying to calculate sales commissions for people, QuickBooks Online offers custom fields. Now, QuickBooks Online Advanced has special custom fields where you could do like a drop-down choice. If you have multiple sales associates for a company and you want to try to utilize the information within QuickBooks Online for paying out those commissions, you can now set up and do basically a drop-down choice of a person's name. So when you pull the reports, it's more accurate. And what happens the other way is, it's very easy that for Matthew, if somebody's typing in just to a text field, you could end up with Matt, M-A-T-T. You could end up with M-A-T-H-E-W, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, so forth. There can be all these different iterations, which means if you're going to have to deal with that, you have to go back in and we have to clean up all of those wrong fields before we get a chance to work with that data.
Yeah. And it's just going to improve your accuracy, right? So that's why we want to work in programs that can have that be more efficient, but also to have it with less chance of data error. And we see that a lot, with our job as an accountant, where people start to do outside systems, like maybe Excel, and then you start to see that there's areas for data entry. Oh, we got Monique has a follow-up question. So QuickBooks allows for parties to pay online. Yeah. Go ahead.
So yes, and yes. It's one of the best features. And I'm going to speak from the accountant's perspective real quickly because it really helps better understand it. As an accountant, one of the things we used to have to spend the most time on is trying to match customer payments to customer invoices. And the amount of time we would spend on that was just astronomical. Now, if you set up Intuit Merchant Processing within your QuickBooks environment, what will happen is you send out an invoice, a digital, beautiful invoice. They receive it. They've got a pay now button. They click on it and they can literally go through and pay either through ACH or credit card, and you can choose which. Once that's done, it's going to automatically link that payment back in through the bank feed that it received payment against it, saving the accountant a lot of time, which should fundamentally help save you time and money as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I haven't had any, I don't know about you, but when I start to implement that with a client, their customers don't seem to have any problem with paying their invoice online. It's got the little payment link. And the fact that it's automated, it's almost like they're like, wow, you mean this is the deposit in here already? And then you can go down and show them where it's at, which is really cool feature. And the fact that you can do, if you have repeat clients, you can save the data and pay if they're doing an invoice scenario or a sales receipt, you can automate it and make it recurring. So those are a few of the ways that you're able to really, get a little bit better and quicker at. It's just the saving time, and the saving time with the deposits, as you're telling that story about how it is when you're working with a client. And I know myself, have you ever had a client that had so many payments sitting inside undeposited funds, and you're like, how do I know what went to the bank? Like they took a grouping of checks to the bank. I have no way of knowing, and then they have to photocopy the checks or give you the list, and it's painful. And with merchant services with Intuit, it kind of just goes in with the flow, and they group it gets deposited automatically, as I like to say, and then you just match it to the bank feed. So it's a real sweet automation. And the time saving, we actually saved a client who had a big firm, 2,000 invoices a month. And that firm had one person that her only job was doing the matching of the deposits and receiving the payments and entering them. She ended up having 4 hours out of her day given back and did a better job. That's probably more for her brain and a little bit more important to the law firm because the automation took that place. So it's really cool.
And the hourly rate they charge, I'm sure, made it really valuable, right? So
Exactly.
So now, Danielle actually asked a good question because we have, I guess we tend to focus sometimes on the invoicing because it's always about bringing the money in the door so you can pay the expenses for doing everything else. But Danielle's asking a great question of, outside of invoicing, what business processes do you recommend automating as opposed to asking someone else, like your bookkeeper, to manage?
I would say we have the ability to track revenue streams. So that's a nice one because we can set up what areas of the file what areas of the income that's coming in. It can be doing it by, for my case, attorney, but you could do it by partner or whatever maybe the key partners in a firm. We can do it by whatever they're selling. Maybe they're selling, eggs and bananas. You want to actually track how many eggs you sold as opposed to the bananas. You can set that up right in the Business Performance Center, which I think is called Performance Center now. And you can track that stuff. You've got, there's a lot of reporting in there that you can track. There's other processes too. With workflows, we have the ability to have the bills, so you can track the payables as well and follow up if bills are ready to be paid. And then we also have tasks, which is kind of cool way of setting things that you don't do as often inside the platform and reminding you. They used to be called reminders in desktop, and I kind of liken it to that, but it's a little bit more like reminders on steroids. It's really cool.
Actually, to kind of play off of your tasks aspect, one of the areas that you can really kind of do some more automation is around payroll. And one of the biggest challenges I've always ran into is when we're setting up and we bring a new employee on, I have to try to remember when they hit their 90-day period to specifically change them over. I'm in California, of course, so we have a 90-day period that's mandatory sick leave is accrued, but not necessarily able to be used. And we have to switch over, let the people know that, hey, now you're allowed to use this time, so forth. So we can create a task to remind us when we're in QuickBooks Online for those employees to switch it over. But to go a little bit further, even with payroll, if you're setting up something like your T-Sheets connection, the way you capture the people clocking in and clocking out, whether it's per specific job or they're just clocking in and out every day. Now you can simplify your process of taking that time, approving it, then being able to pull it straight into payroll and be able to use that very easily. So it saves time, makes it more efficient. You reduce data entry errors, major improvements throughout all that stuff, of course.
Really, when you're using a task like that, I mean, that's not like a set date for everybody. Your 90 days is going to be coming out from whenever they're hired. So that's a really great tip on using some of the functionality that's inside the program. Lori D says, what's an example of things you've been able to pull into QuickBooks Online Advanced instead of using Excel? Oh, how many clients use Excel?
Do I have an hour to talk about this? But so the batch importing capabilities of QuickBooks Online Advanced is kind of a key aspect of this. We, every year with one of our clients, it's a nonprofit organization that would do an entrepreneur challenge. Basically what it would be is they literally took kids from middle school, high school, and college, and they would get together in groups and they would have to come up with some kind of an idea, and then they would pitch this idea. When it came down to the final competition, the grand competition, my client, Sean, loved the guy to death. He always wanted to make sure that people got their checks right then and there, which means in prior years before Advanced existed, I had to do this major import using third-party tools. It was a pain in the rear. But now, thanks to Advanced, I can literally take this information. I do start to structure it in Excel, but then I copy, paste it right in through that new functionality. And I was able to create 120 checks within 15 minutes, all unique to the people that won the amounts, everything else. So when they were walking out the door, they could actually have their checks. And yes, I had to bring a printer with me. So that was a really good example of where that saved my rear.
Well, I see it with attorneys. They like to do their trust accounting on the outside in an Excel spreadsheet. But we find a lot of times that there's errors there because now you're manually typing data in, and using the program will definitely save you. If you're actually using the physical numbers that are reconciled from the bank, now your books are accurate. So it's really a bit of a process there. And I've seen it too, and you probably have too, where people will take the numbers out, push it out into Excel, and you get the ability to move it to Google Sheets too, and then start to play around with the numbers, what ifs, right? What if my income went up, so many percentage points? What if, I lowered my expenses? And those are things you can do with Fathom, the reporting tool that's baked into QuickBooks as well. So, yeah, for sure.
Now, this definitely is a great one for you, Lynda. Jeff asked, I have my own law firm. What are the first processes I should automate? What's my ideal app stack?
It would be my app stack. So you would need to have QuickBooks Online Advanced. I would absolutely just don't even try to even go anywhere else. That one has so many features that work for law firms. You can tell I'm passionate about this. And Lean Law, which is the one that works the best with QuickBooks. It integrates the best, and it's got a lot of functionality where you can really study the data for the sales side inside of Lean Law, and you can keep all your attorneys can work there doing their time and billing, and they never get into QuickBooks. So you've got this little pristine area for your accounting. I like Lisio for my client communication because it's secure and it's safe and quiet, and I can store files and track all the conversations I have with clients. And then Receipt Bank, that's been really a beneficial one for us because we work with more mid-market firms, multiple people. You can keep certain people out of seeing statements, and then you can give them users, but it works really well because we can import into QuickBooks from Receipt Bank back codes. So if you have the same thing coming in all the time, you can automate it there, and then it gets sucked up with the two-way sync in Lean Law, and will be ready for billing and to send your clients out if you code it to advanced client costs. So it's a really automated workflow. I enjoy my job because I get to sit with attorneys and take them off of something that they've been entering it here and entering it there and entering it here. And then you find that it's very disjointed, and a lot of time we find errors all the time, especially with trust accounting. You don't want to do that. So yeah, I'm very passionate about that one.
So real quickly, I mean, to kind of add on to what you're saying there, because obviously you are by far the specialist when it comes to law firms. The beauty of a setup like that is it allows the people within the law firm to stay focused within a certain application like a lien law, while also providing the data that's necessary for your bookkeeper and accountant to take care of the financials in a nice, clean manner and still present reporting that's beneficial and helpful to the firm itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then with Receipt Bank, as the receipts come in, because the attorneys will go to court and they may pay for a fee here and there, they just put it into Receipt Bank. So again, they're not in the platform, they are outside. And you can do that with QuickBooks as well, where you can upload receipts right inside of QuickBooks. So there's that feature that they can just put on the app, and it's as simple as taking a photograph with your phone and attaching it, and then it pulls right through. So it's just so automated. It's incredible compared to, because we migrate, I get to see and feel the other systems, and it's just so easy to use, and it's just so seamless. Our next question is from Mimi. What's the worst example you've come across of successful business with an inefficient business process?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying this is a little bit of a side thing. One of the worst things that ever happens to us is when we're always willing to do everything we can to help a client implement a new application. The worst thing in the world is when we find out they've connected a new application without talking to us, because of all of the fun things it can create, like new charts of accounts and new vendors and new items and new all of this stuff that we have to clean up. But the worst process that we came across, which we were able to improve, which is why we love doing this stuff. We had a specific company, it's a software development company that had a person, they created their own time tracking application. And because of this, we weren't able to utilize features like T-Sheets to be able to pull like time entries in. So their initial process had them everybody clocking in, clocking out projects, everything through this thing. They would take the data and somebody would manually go and type in the values into like a Google Sheet. And then once it was in this Google Sheet, that information had to go be reviewed and then manually was typed into QuickBooks Online into a system. And the way it was set up inside QuickBooks Online was very inefficient. Sometimes when you're talking about automation, there are little things like the way that you actually use an item inside of your program can make a difference. So what we did is we actually modified quite a bit of the input, and we ended up taking where we had developers that we had to pay out, which means they were also vendors. We made them items in the system so we could use that as a way to kind of like pay them, and we were able to automate the process of grabbing the data still from the Google Sheet, but initially it was importing the stuff. Now we can actually copy paste and use that version instead to create billable expenses that turn into invoices. And it used to take this person almost a week to do this work. We've got it down to like 45 minutes.
Isn't that the best? That's the best part of our job. I think.
It's fun. It really is fun.
I'll just circle back briefly on that client with the 2,000 invoices. They used to have a platform that was, it was a program that was desktop, and it required them, even though they emailed a significant amount of those 2,000 invoices, the program made them print them. they couldn't pick and only print the other ones. So they would have literally stacks of paper in their office that they didn't use, that they made into scratch paper because they emailed some of them. And it was the weirdest thing. We eliminated that by moving them into our platform and our workspace and getting them involved where they were in QuickBooks Online Advanced. And now they had the ability to email and they didn't have to print it. So I always like to say, I saved a lot of trees with that client for sure, you know?
I tend to forget how much we've actually saved paper. I mean, we bought like a ream of paper every 6 months or something like that. But anyways, I digress. So
think about the last time you printed a check. Even, I mean, we just do everything. Yeah, it's the same thing. I like to blow the dust off every once in a while. I have to take a check out of the drawer, where it was a big part of what I did for a living for a long time. Everything was printed. It was very slow. Even entering a bill now, that fact that you don't have to type in. When I did construction firms, the invoice numbers were like this long. And now when you put it in a receipt bank, it reads all that. So then you get that and a copy of it attached. So now I don't have to save the bill. I can have it emailed to me, emailed into receipt bank reads it, puts it into QuickBooks. And then if it's a client thing, it'll get sucked up into my lien law. So it's really efficient.
So Stu was asking our next question. Stu wants to know, where do I start if I want to do a better job at running financial projections for the next few years? Great question, especially with the times.
Yeah, so I think when you're looking at financial projections, I would start with a good cash flow report. There's a lot of cash flow tools out there. Take a look at your cash flow. Take a look at where your leads are coming in, start to see where they're coming and how the flow of them. So if they're coming in and they stop at your office, make sure that anybody answers the phone or is taking the calls, they write down where it came from. So now you know where your marketing is effective. So you have to start to look at this in different segments of the business. For sure, you want to find out where is the marketing effective, where is it not effective, where are you spending those dollars? And then, of course, you're going to looking at budgeting and then looking towards, for the forecasting, start to think about your goals. What are your business goals? What is your revenue goal? Start with a revenue goal and just say, okay, I made X. I'm up to this point, I've made X. Next year, I want to make Y. And then see if you can attain it. It's kind of fun to make a goal. You can make it a really big goal. Actually, this year, I made a goal at the very, very beginning of the year that I wanted to double my sales. And of course, things changed this year. So, but I might still be on track for it. I mean, still got a quarter left. So you never know, right?
As they say, hindsight is 20/20, right? So I would actually say that if you're trying to do the projections, this happens to be one of the benefits of doing like QuickBooks Online Advanced is Fathom. So Fathom has some great reporting built right inside of it. Fathom is an add-on application that's comes with QuickBooks Online Advanced. I should say that the other versions of QuickBooks, like QuickBooks Plus, also comes with. They have a beta capability for like a cash flow dashboard to give you some better ideas. But really, going into like Fathom, that gives you the ability to start to really create like cash flow projections. And you can do different scenarios, save those, and then be able to utilize them for different people, of course. So our next question here. But big shout out to a good buddy, Hector Garcia. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Hector. He wants to know, what are your favorite apps/systems to manage productivity in a multiple team member company?
That is, so my personal favorite with that is it's Microsoft Teams. And I got to give a big shout out to my buddy Seth David out there. So Teams is better. Microsoft Teams is something that we use when it comes to managing the process and the communications with our clients. We will set it up to where you'll actually have like a private team or channel where we can do internal communication, but then we have everything else set up for external wise that allows our clients to see all the information that's going on, the different communication. And then we can also provide reporting and everything else through that as well.
I like the message underneath. It's really Hector. Hector's here. But yeah, so I would say we actually use Teams for QB Community Live. So when we make our PowerPoints and we can kind of communicate there. I do use Slack. I do use Slack for a lot of the clients. They're familiar with Slack. A lot of the law firms are in the Microsoft environment, so using Teams is always an option. I like it because it's a nice, quiet place. I use Lisio for mine. My crew, basically, for communicating. It's just, for me, it's the safety feature. I'm able to communicate with my client, exchange documents safely. So for me, that's just, it is a bonus. And it's a really quiet space, and the app is just amazing for using that.
No, we'd be remiss if we didn't very quickly at least mention Slack. A lot of people do love Slack, of course, but you can reach out about that at a different time. I'm a big Teams person. Now, Michael T is actually said, I am a tax professional that is adding bookkeeping services. I'm going through the ProAdvisor certification. What is the most efficient way to add a new client that has existing books?
Well, first of all, congratulations on adding the bookkeeping services and getting certified. So if you are out there and you've not been certified, take the test, because there's a lot of little perks that come along with that. The easiest way is to ask your client to invite you as an accountant user. It's very simple. You just log in, have the client log into their file, go to the gear, go to manage users, and then there's a second tab. So you have to try to go to the second tab and go where it says accounting firms. We both have actually made a video on Loom to hand out to the client. So we show them how to do it, because a lot of them go really fast and they don't even want to go in that gear section at all. So you're like, it's just this way. And the video just helpful, saves an email. I highly recommend using Loom and making those videos for sure.
It's a good video to actually have for like onboarding, everything else. And this is a unique opportunity to actually draw attention to the fact, like with QuickBooks Online. With QuickBooks Online, you have the ability to add on 2 accountants. With QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can add 3. Mm-hmm. And where this comes into play is our company does not do taxes. So when we need to work with somebody like you, Michael, we would want to have the ability for both of us to be able to access the books as the accountant, because we have those special accountant tools. And then if Lynda and I needed to work on a project together, all 3 of us could be in there and still doing everything efficiently the way we need to.
And we need our accountant. Right, exactly. So we use this all the time in my firm, where we have the extra seat, because I have another business partner, Sarah, and we always use that 3 seats. And it's just really wonderful, because then if you're in the other program, you have to kick out the accountant because it's not the time of the year. They're going to, the tax professional, it's not their time of the year. And then you have to bring them back in and somebody's got to move. It's a little bit of a pain. Jeremy is asking, what are the signs I'm ready to move from Excel to QuickBooks Online Advanced?
Boy, that is a phenomenal question. So many ways to answer, but I think the first way I would respond is, if you find yourself having to save different copies of your Excel sheet and try to have iterations of any kind, it's time to move to QuickBooks Online. If you're spending more time cleaning up the data or manipulating columns of this or that or here or there, and if it keeps getting lost, it's time to move to QuickBooks Online. There are so many things about QuickBooks Online that will help you streamline the process, improve the quality of data, because you're not going to be the source of typing a name in wrong with an amount or this or that, or creating invoice templates or any of those things. They're all examples of QuickBooks Online.
If you're working at 10 o'clock at night, still trying to figure out how to get all your data in, probably time to move on, because then like you just said, you're going to have the customer names will be in there, the vendor names. You don't have to keep re-entering and retyping. Less chance for errors. You're going to be able to reconcile and make sure everything's right and perfect in your books. Well, I've enjoyed the time today. Thank you for joining us today and asking so many great questions. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and follow if you'd like to see more live Q&A. Let us know what your thought of today's Ask the Experts were in the comments below. If you want to learn more about QuickBooks Online Advanced, make sure you register for our upcoming webinar, Boost Growth with Faster Workflows, where we will go in more depth and even a demo to show you these features that we discussed today and help your business accelerate. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. You can, of course, find us at our Facebook group, QB Community Live. As we always like to say, here's wishing you all a very successful week. Bye now.